Walker, 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 Walker. Christian Walker hits more dingers. We have more on this night. And of course, the Diamondbacks not losing when we have a takeover. Join us in about 30 seconds. Don't go anywhere. Let's go. Oh yeah, you know that song. Ski to you all and welcome into Studio K. Of course, presented by our friends at Circle K. My name is Derek Montia, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX. Now, then, and forever. And of course, this is the PHNX D-backs podcast. The Arizona Diamondbacks skunked the Rangers by a score of 6-0, and we have so much more on it right now. Of course, I'm joined by my guy, the people's producer, Damon Dog, behind the Mac. And of course, this show is brought to you by our friends at the Bet365. Of course, go download Bet365 and use that code of PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it is never ordinary over at Bet365. And of course, very, very great to see all of our wonderful diehards and all of our wonderful friends out at Chase Field tonight for an absolute rout of the Texas Rangers. This rematch from the World Series kind of went our way a little more. Of course, the Diamondbacks win by a score of 6-0. It started off great. Diamondbacks get two dingers back to back. Got a Jock Peterson home run that went to the moon. And of course, Christian Walker is absolutely back with his 2 home run night. But there's just so much to talk about from this game. Obviously, the Diamondbacks improved 81-64. It is a night where there are a lot of wins and losses happening around Major League Baseball that are impacting the Arizona Diamondbacks. But of course, they can only control what they can control, which is this game, and they did a great job of that. Zac Gallen was outstanding once again for the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight. Of course, Zac went out there and Zac did Zac things. Zac goes out there, goes 5 innings pitched, gives up 2 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Of course, he didn't have his longest outing. And, you know, again, with the way that the Diamondbacks bullpen has kind of pitched, you would like to see a little bit more length out of Zac. But it's his second consecutive game shutting out the opposition. Obviously, last time he didn't allow a hit. But in this case, Zac Gallen was just very, very good tonight. And I mean, it didn't feel like the Rangers had much going on in this game at all. Of course, I was sitting with so many of you out in the bleachers, so I don't really know at times what was going on in this game. I just know that every time I looked up, Zac Gallen was shoving. Is that a fair assessment, Damon?
Zac Gallen was shoving, and Pavin chants were being had.
The Pavin chants were amazing. It was just a good night, right? Good night all around for the Diamondbacks. I mean, this was a thorough win. We talked about wanting to see them come out, and especially over these next 18 games, right? They have a day off on Monday. They have another day off on Thursday. They have this weird 2-game set with the Rangers, and then like Archie addressed, they go on a very long stretch without any days off against some very important opponents. And a lot of those games are here at Chase Field. So it would be great to see the support. There was some great support out there tonight, although it was a little bit, I mean, it's a Tuesday game, so you're not expecting too big of a crowd to show up. But Diamondbacks fans did a great job showing up, and so did the team. Of course, Jock Peterson was 1 for 2 tonight with that big home run. Christian Walker was 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and his 2 home runs. Jake McCarthy 1 for 4. Pavin Smith 1 for 4 with an RBI. A lot of contributions from everybody. Corbin 1 for 4 as well. So it was a good night. It was a great night to be out the ballpark. We had a lot of good vibes going on. And honestly, it's just great to see this team playing as well as they're playing right now. And of course, when we're talking about that, we're talking specifically about Zac Gallen. Going back to Gallen. Gallen is very important when it comes to, obviously, the way the rest of the season goes. And one thing Archie brought up on the show yesterday was, you know, if Torey Lovullo is, in fact, going to maybe change direction with Zac and Merrill, right? And possibly use those guys a little bit more, maybe give someone like Brandon Pfaadt, who has a lot of innings work this season, maybe just one outing off, one start off. And we got a chance to ask Torey if that was his plan. This is what Torey had to say before the game today.
Do you have any plans to get Zac and Merrill extra starts, or are you staying on schedule at the end of the year?
That's probably the question of the day. I don't know that answer. You guys need to stay tuned, and we'll keep you posted on that. We're presently talking about that right now. With 2 off days, this is when we start to get really creative. We take deep dives into direct matchups against certain teams, how they handle righties, how they handle lefties. We're going to try to line it up exactly the best way to help us win baseball games. So yes, it is probabilities. Yes, it is direct matchups. It's all of the above that we're gonna drop in and say this is where it fits best for this particular pitcher against this particular team. And then we want to make sure we have the right guys lined up at the very tail end of the season. So there's a lot that's going into these conversations, and it takes hours to get to that point. We haven't quite got there yet.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think Fod is up to 165 innings this season.
Yeah.
I feel like there's maybe a fatigue factor playing a role in kind of what you've seen from him recently.
Yeah, you guys had the remote control drone in my office just now for the past hour. I got it. I feel you.
It's just
Starting to figure it out.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, it's pretty good. We haven't necessarily discussed that, but we've maybe talked about giving him an extra day or two, if possible. I don't think there's a fatigue factor for him. He's got such a clean delivery. He's a big body. The overall pitches that he's thrown haven't been excessive. I think he's going to be okay. I think he's going to be fine. But when we can give players rest and we feel like there's a need for it, we will. But we haven't yet figured out what that model looks like. But yeah, we want to be mindful of it. The stuff is not ticking down. The velocity is still the same. The information that we get, I'm sure you guys get it too, but that we get that's very detailed about the spin of the baseball and the movement of the baseball. It's all very similar, so we feel good about it. Maybe just an extra day of rest might do him some good as well.
I can't express to you how good that felt for Torey to tell me that was the question of the day, that I was Torey's favorite student in the class. Like, Jesse gets that shit all the time. Meanwhile, I never get it. So I just had to throw that out there, that felt really good. Also, it felt good for Torey to suggest that we have a camera planted in his office, to be honest. That also felt pretty good. But I get it. I get where Torey's coming from with this, because these are questions I'm sure they're asking themselves, and I'm sure this is discussions that is going on, especially with the stretch that they have coming up. And then these 2 off days right now, it makes a lot of sense that you would possibly skip over someone like Brandon Pfaadt and give guys like Merrill and Zac that don't have nearly as many innings, those at least one extra start. It also is just a weird stretch coming up here where the Diamondbacks have a lot of games to close out the season, consecutively, where they don't really get any more days off after that. But
I can't wait for you to tote your one-time question of the day championship. Mm-hmm. Similar to your fantasy football championship around here. Mm-hmm. Oh, did you know that I was a one-time question of the day award winner?
Damon brings up an interesting point. I don't talk about it on this show ever, but I did win the PHNX Fantasy Football League, so I just figure this is a great opportunity to throw that out there. I know Torey would be a fan about that, but one thing I'm a fan of is the way this bullpen pitched tonight, because these guys shoved. Zac might have shoved, but these guys shoved. 1 hit allowed in 4 innings of work by the bullpen. 1 hit allowed by Kevin Ginkel. Outside of that, you had 4 innings of perfection from these guys. Ginkel also walked a guy, but I don't care about that. But you have Ryan Thompson coming in, working a completely clean inning. You have AJ Puck, which many of you brought up in the chat, was just filthy. He's just filthy. 3 strikeouts in 1 inning of work, and the man just continues his dominance. He has a 3.14 ERA this season, but keep in mind that 3.14 ERA is impacted by, I believe, those 4 starts that he had this season that he should have probably never been made a starter, but he pitches so well that it's hard not to consider him as that. But this man comes in, he absolutely shoved. And then, of course, Justin Martinez shut the game down at the end. There were some people asking, like, why did these guys get the work in this game when this game was obviously, like, in hand? I'll say 2 things about that. One, I don't feel like any Arizona Diamondbacks game has been in hand. No matter what their lead is, no matter how the circumstances land, it feels lately like they need to continue to score runs and to do everything they can to have a dominant win like this. Like, I don't remember the last time that the Diamondbacks really beat a team like this that you didn't really feel like they should beat like this, right? I mean, yeah.
When Ginkel came in and Thompson, though, I mean, it was we were up 4 runs. That's not a crazy lead.
No, it's not a crazy lead. You're absolutely right. Nor is really, honestly, a 6-0 lead a crazy lead. Like, I understand with the importance of wanting to protect these leads and get these games. I completely understand it. But I mean, yeah, this is just one of those nights where you got to tip your cap because yes, Ina says Gallen had 2 of the 3 hits. You're absolutely right. 2 of the 3 hits were off Zac Gallen. Zac Gallen's night, 5 innings pitched, 2 hits allowed, no earned runs, 2 walks, 7K. And then the bullpen combined, 4 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. That'll play. And that's like, we talk about like, what do we have concerns about this team going into the postseason? Well, this is a Rangers team that hasn't been playing great baseball. Their OPS isn't super high. They have not been a great offensive team this season, but it's still the defending World Series champ, right? And I mean, you got to be pretty proud of the way that your team played tonight, and you got to be pretty confident that this is going to hopefully lead to them, having this carry over to game 2. Then they get another rest day, and then they go on that stretch of 16 straight games, essentially, to close out the season without really an off day. And that's a tough stretch, right? They have a lot of good opponents in there, but their schedule is not nearly as tough as some of the other teams that are in this wild card race. When you start looking at the Atlanta Braves schedule, when you start looking at, the Mets, who they have left on their schedule, and the Cubs, who they have left on their schedule, it's a rough go for all of these other teams as well that are in this race. So the Diamondbacks do have the fact that they have some easy teams before them. And again, I think I said this yesterday, but if they can perform well against the Milwaukee Brewers with 7 games left against that team, then things should kind of fall their way. But I do want to talk about our takeover, because our takeover was incredible tonight, and it's because of you guys. You guys made our takeover wonderful. It's our last takeover of the year, so I don't want to get mushy and super sentimental about it, but I don't know when or if I'm ever going to see you people ever again. So we got to get mushy, right? We got to show the love. I have absolutely had a blast coming out to all of our baseball events, everything we've done, including way back when we did like the home run derby for the fall, for the fall league, and everything else that we've done together. But tonight was just a perfect night. I felt like between the Diamondbacks winning, the meetup at the Desmond, and just all the fun we had out there in section 133, it was truly what this place is all about, what PHNX is all about.
Just great vibes.
It was amazing. You know what I mean?
People that didn't know each other before PHNX, and it's just become a fantastic little community that we have, especially our D-backs, fans are great. And it's awesome doing this show and them being a part of it.
I know you do 2 good beats. I know you also got the Cardinals. You're a 2-timer a little bit, but I gotta say, like, there's something special about our Diamondbacks community, is there not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we had, I think everyone felt similarly around here about our Coyotes community.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of similar people. Like,
for sure.
We're in fact, we have adopted Coyotes fans over here to our baseball world. And I love that as well, because again, it's what PHNX is all about. I get it. Sometimes things happen, and sometimes your favorite sports team just ups and leaves, and you're kind of left, like in a position of feeling like, what do I legitimately do with myself, considering how much I invested, in this team? And like, again, I could only imagine if we were in that predicament with our baseball team, and I hope we never are. But honestly, look at what's happening with the Oakland A's. If it can happen to the A's, it can happen to any of us. So I just want to say that while we have this team, while we exist in this moment together, and while we are a community and a family, I want to say I had a blast with you guys, and I hope to do many more takeovers next season. And I hope to see you guys maybe even before then at Cardinals events, of course, at maybe in the effing Yoffs. Maybe we get together for something there. But it did feel like it was because of us that the Diamondbacks beat the Rangers so thoroughly. I get it. I know it's more of the performance of the players on the field and Zac Gallen and the bullpen shoving and all that stuff we already said. Christian Walker hit 2 dingers. Jock Peterson and Christian Walker going back to back. That's all been incredible. In fact, Christian Walker and Jock Peterson combined to hit back-to-back home runs for the 4th time this season. And it was the 5th time that Christian Walker has had a multi-home run game this season. So these guys have just been doing it. But of course, I do want to take credit and say it's because of us. It's because of us. Piece of Yoshi says Derek hinting at Diamondbacks relocation is crazy. I'll say the quiet parts out loud. I don't mind.
Derek loves talking about the D-backs relocating and Zac Gallen not re-signing with the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, it's my two favorite topics.
Those are his. Oh, and Goldschmidt is overrated by this fan base. Those are his 3 favorite topics, and all 3 of them are horrifically negative and make Diamondbacks fans hate him.
Yeah, I don't have he's right. I don't have any arguments with that. I have nothing more to say. I'm guilty as charged, if you will. But of course, it was awesome. And of course, we do have to give our Sanderson Ford deep drive of the game to a home run. And we know which one it is. As much as I want to give it to either one of Christian Walker's 2 home runs, we have to give it to Jock Peterson's 450-foot blast in the bottom of the first. And of course, the Diamondbacks did the thing that they did. They got an early lead here in the first inning, and they were able to maintain it. They kept Rangers hitters off balance, and this was just an overall good night. The Diamondbacks were able to add a few runs late to really make this kind of that blowout victory of 6-0. But like you said, 4-0 is a lead that I don't feel comfortable with, especially considering how quickly things can turn for any member of this bullpen.
Ryan Thompson blew close to that big of a lead the other day. It wasn't that long ago that happened. So, I mean, and he pitched in this game. I think going to Ginkle and Ryan Thompson when you're up 4 runs is not crazy. And then you probably already had puck warming up at that point.
Yeah. Well, of course, we will have some more here shortly on this baseball game. And we'll also be hearing from the one and only Jesse Friedman, who we left at Chase Field. Jesse stayed there. We came here like we always do. But, of course, we'll get around to Jesse joining us here shortly. We do want to thank you guys. Maybe those of you that, it's Steven Bananas? I'm going to have to say it's Steven Bananas, right? It's Steven Bananas. All right, Steven Bananas says, is our mayor saying we wants to relocate the Diamondbacks? And then what? You put Espo at the end? You didn't even tag Espo? Like, what is he supposed to see this magically? He's in his car driving home from the game. So good luck getting him to see that. But Matt is absolutely right. The Padres series is going to be a huge series with the season series being 5-5 as we speak. I hope Chase has over 40,000 each for each of those 3 games. Yeah, I mean, that's...
And we're not talking about you loser Padres fans that live in AZ either. You guys stay at home.
Damon's on one tonight. He saw guys in Dodgers
I was so
jerseys,
mad.
And he's fit to be tied. It's great. It's so good. But since you guys aren't Dodgers fans, and since none of you, Maria might be here, and I definitely know BC's lurking in the dark somewhere. But, of course, we thank you guys so much for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, we implore you to do so now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever our shows on this wonderful network go live. And, of course, hit that like button. HTL. We hold the line. We hit the like, and we love the show. Of course, Zach, huge fan of holding the line. So hit that like button. It's for my self-esteem, mostly. Nobody else's. If you're listening on the audio podcasting side, make sure you subscribe over there. Of course, leave us a review. Those reviews do mean the world to us. Even though most of you probably think that we don't take anything that you say in your reviews to heart, we take it to heart so much. So much. I'll lose sleep for a week over negative reviews. I'm not telling you to not leave a negative review, but I just want you to understand that if you do leave a negative review, that you're just hurting me deep down inside. So, of course, if you are listening on the audio podcast side, though, we love you. We thank you for listening. Of course, we do have some business to take care of, but we will get back to this game. But first, we do want to give a shout out to Sanderson Ford. Sanderson Ford is the place for you to go get a brand new vehicle. It is our official vehicle partner, and for a good reason. We love the folks at Sanderson Ford. They are, of course, a family that has been owned and operated Sanderson Ford for more than 3 generations. And of
Similar
course,
to PHNX.
Yeah, right? We're family. We're all family.
That's why it's a great partnership there.
We might not have as many generations invested in PHNX, but wait, my daughter will be here doing shows before you know it. Like, she'll be here holding things down. But of course, go out to Sanderson Ford, not just because they're wonderful people, because of the wonderful deals they have and the wonderful vehicles that they have to offer. Of course, right now, they are pushing for the playoffs, and you get the payoffs like deals on a 24 Ford Bronco Sport Big Bend, just ranked highest in its quality by J.D. Power. And of course, you also have 0% financing for 36 months with no payments for 90 days on Ford F-150, Escape, Edge, Explorer, and Expedition. So, of course, check out the Sanderson Ford summer sales event, which is here right now, and they are teaming up with the boys of summer for a final playoff payoff sale. Purchase or lease any new Ford and get Ford tickets for your family to see the D-backs push for the playoffs, and you also get 0% for 36 months OAC from Ford Credit. See dealer for details. Make sure to grab those tickets and come join us for a Diamondbacks game. There's not a lot of those left this season. Also, of course, this show is brought to you by our friends at Bet365, which always make watching live sports more fun with their live in-game betting. Bet365 offers the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. So make sure to not miss out on everything Bet365 has to offer. We talked about this lead, right? We talked about the lead in this game. You would have cashed the minute the Diamondbacks hit that 5-run mark, because with the Bet365 baseball early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes up by 5 runs ahead with an instant payout. Parlay and same game parlay selections will be marked as winners. So no need to worry about that comeback with Bet365 because you are in the green. Right now, new customers can choose between 2 offers when they open an account at Bet365. Use that code of PHNX365 when you sign up. Deposit $10 and choose either between a bet and get offer where you place a $5 bet and get $150 in bonus bets, or a first bet safety net offer where you can place a bet up to $1,000. And if your qualifying bet loses, you'll receive a matched refund in bonus bets. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or over and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov.
We have some really cool stuff coming up with Bet365, Derek.
We really do.
In the playoffs, I think, and maybe even sooner, but definitely in the playoffs, we're going to be making some PHNX personalized bets.
Oh, yeah.
On the Bet365 app.
We had one this weekend.
We did.
For
We
the
absolutely
Cardinals,
did for
right?
Cardinals this weekend. There will probably be one for Cardinals next week.
Maybe a little Diamondbacks action?
Yep, absolutely. You check the app on this Sunday, and there should be a little PHNX logo for a boost that comes up. And then Shane, Johnny, Bo, and I will kind of figure out what those bets are going to be for Cardinals. Derek and I will probably figure those out for Diamondbacks. It'll be a lot of fun. So download Bet365 with our code and, yeah, get in on that with us.
Damon and Jesse really do the majority of the work around here. I am merely a figurehead, mayor, whatever you want to call me. But, of course, this man, without him, the bets would be foolish. He would actually make good bets. So that's why
I don't know,
we
Derek.
have him
You were
around.
pretty hot last postseason.
Well, no, because that was the it was the oppo, right? It was like I was going opposite and I got on fire. But that's only because I want to hedge my bets emotionally and make sure if the Diamondbacks lose, at least I win. Of course, the Diamondbacks definitely did that tonight, though. So let's take a look at the count presented by Desert Financial Credit Union. Diamondbacks won 6-0. They out-hit the Rangers 10-3. Runners in scoring position, neither team was good. Rangers 0 for 2, Diamondbacks 1 for 9. I don't know what to do with either of those, but it doesn't matter because the Diamondbacks had 6 extra base hits to the Rangers 0, and the expected batting average there was 279 for the Diamondbacks to the Rangers 132. Diamondbacks pitching just was flat out incredible in this game, and that's really what it came down to, right? The Diamondbacks did enough offensively, and their pitching was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, 10 hits, nothing to scoff at either. That runners in scoring position, obviously, I think we'd like to see that get a little bit weeded out because 1 for 9 is not great, and that XBA isn't exactly fantastic either. But, I mean, that's kind of a funky stat anyways. 6 extra base hits. It was a good night all the way around for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, no, it really, really was. And, of course, again, it's because we were present. They did the thing for us. Overall, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this is how weird baseball is right now, and with how tight things are, where one win feels good. It doesn't feel like you're out of hot water with, the wild card race, and a loss feels devastating, right? Because again, you have the Cubs, for instance, who probably should be getting smashed by the Dodgers, and instead they've won the last 2 games. It looks like they're going to win tonight, and they won yesterday. You just constantly have these teams that are in this race with the Diamondbacks showing up on every single game, on every single night, and and playing good baseball. So the Diamondbacks have to continue to do so, and they did that tonight. And of course, it feels good. Of course, we do have to give our king snake out to somebody. And who are we going to give it to? I don't know. I guess there is more than one guy to give it to, but Christian Walker is our guy tonight. 2 for 4, 2 home runs, 3 RBI. And man, it just feels really, really good to see Christian Walker have a multi-home run game. For Christian Walker just to have a home run period. It just felt good, right? So like this is one of those things that Archie and I briefly touched on yesterday, but that was the feeling that we both kind of have of like, is Christian Walker and Ketel Marte possibly costing this offense, and like you don't want that. And obviously they got to get into games for them to get into a rhythm and get back to being, members that contribute to the offense in a meaningful way. But at the same time, their replacements, as we've talked about so much, have played so well that it's hard to see this team struggle offensively on when Ketel and Christian came back and not think like, wow, what would tonight have been like if Kevin Newman and Josh Bell were out there, right? So
the only pushback I'd have on that, I think, is that Josh Bell and Kevin Newman a lot of the time are singles hitters. Especially Josh Bell had been hitting a lot of singles, not a lot of extra base hits, whereas Ketel and Christian Walker have like game-breaking type of hits and at-bats. So I think that's where like they're just a little bit that caliber is just a level that Josh Bell and Kevin Newman can't reach because Ketel and Christian's upside is that much higher.
Elise in the chat says, Derek said I was crazy for saying we probably need to win every game we have left. That is crazy, Elise. That is
nuts,
crazy.
Elise, that's the worst take you've ever had.
That's the worst take you've ever had.
And you have nothing but good takes, but that was a miss. She can miss.
I didn't think she could.
I didn't think so either.
I didn't think she could. But that is crazy to think they have to win all of our games. You're starting to hang out with Thunderbolt too much, and I don't like you two like becoming friends like that. But of course, we do have my guy. We do have the Thunderstick, and I don't know. I'm not allowed to call him my vice mayor anymore, but it is the one and only Jesse Friedman here joining us. So let's bring Jesse in here. We were hanging out. Jesse, I talked about it a little while ago. It was a fun night out there with all of our people in Section 133, and the Diamondbacks delivered for us.
Yeah, and you know what, Derek, they wouldn't have delivered if there hadn't been, a crew of 20 to 30 PHNXers down the left field line.
Jesse, PHNXers, what are you doing here? It's like you don't even know Zach or Steve. What is happening?
Yeah, good point. This is one of the better games the Diamondbacks have played all season. Obviously a shutout win, that's a pretty good place to start. This was the Diamondbacks, I believe it was their 9th shutout win of the season, their first since the end of July. People might remember the game where they beat the Washington Nationals 17-0. Patrick Corbin, old friend, was not particularly great in that game. But that was a while ago. The Diamondbacks have 9 shutout wins this season. And it's been about a month and a half since we saw the last one. And I guess that speaks in part to this pitching staff and how things have been a little rough lately in both the rotation and the bullpen. That was not the case today. Zac Gallen, he wasn't as efficient as you would have maybe liked him to be, but he still managed to go 5 scoreless innings. And then your 5 big guns at the back end of the bullpen, these are the guys that are going to be getting the ball in the biggest moments in the playoffs. At least that's how it stands right now. Kevin Ginkel, Ryan Thompson, AJ Puck, and Justin Martinez, they combined to give up 1 hit tonight, and I believe it was an infield hit if I'm not mistaken. So just a well-pitched game for the Diamondbacks and a well-played game all the way around.
Well, we will have a little bit more from Chase Field and from Jesse here on this game. But first, we do have to remind all of you that if you're leaving Chase Field right now to stop by Circle K, it's a great place to stop on your way home. Right now, you can get yourself, of course, join the Inner Circle, right? And if you haven't, I have good news for you, because there's one benefit we haven't been talking about, and that is that when you join the Inner Circle, your first 5 Polar Pops are free. Just free. Do you like free? Is free. I can't get Circle K to pay you money to take a Polar Pop, but I can get you a Polar Pop for free. So go out there and sign up for the Inner Circle for free right now by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details, but you will get, once again, 5 Polar Pops for free. You'll also save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, and then save 3 cents every day after that. So make sure to stop by America's Thirst Stop, fill up your car, fill yourself up. You know you're thirsty after watching the Diamondbacks whoop that trick tonight. So go stop by Circle K. Of course, also make sure if you want to join us for wonderful games like tonight's game, you download the Game Time app right now and check out the Game Time's new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. And when I say this, I mean there is a special category for those of you that are familiar with Game Time. You may have pulled up the arena, the event that you want to go to. And you might see up at the top, there's a couple of little tabs. One of those tabs, GT Picks, Game Time Picks. You get down on that and it will zero in on the best deal that it can find you. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And let me tell you, sometimes that deal is one that you're like, that wasn't even on here. I missed that one altogether. So make sure to save as much money as you can with Game Time. Game Time Picks makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater, and so much more. You can even save exclusively with when you maybe even let Game Time choose a section for you and let Game Time choose the seats. They have all-in pricing, and of course, when you toggle that feature on, it'll show you the total up front with all fees included, no surprises at all when you get to checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? What time is it, Damon?
Game time?
It's game time. It's game time. All right, Jesse. Well, it was game time for the Diamondbacks today. I played the clip from before the show where Torey basically called us geniuses. He called me more of a genius than you. But we did talk about maybe getting Zac and Merrill, some more starts. And he said that is a conversation that they're having, as well as your question about Brandon Pfaadt maybe getting, a day off with how much he's pitched. But with the way Zac pitched tonight, you could feel very encouraged about Zac getting an extra start. You could feel very encouraged about the Diamondbacks team wanting Zac Gallen to pitch as many games down the stretch as they can. And considering the workload he's had and how much rest he's had due to the injuries, it's kind of a good plan. Oh, you're muted, Jesse.
Yeah, I guess not having the mute button turned on that would help.
That would help.
Yes. Where was I? Yeah, Zac Gallen. Yeah, especially when he's pitching like this, right? I think as of a couple of weeks ago, I maybe would have tapped the brakes a bit on the, try to get Zac Gallen and Merrill Kelly as many starts as you could down the stretch, because frankly, neither of those guys was really at their best. But as you start to see both of those guys come into their own, I mean, yeah, D-backs want to win as many games as they can down the stretch. Right. They're in a more comfortable position than they were a year ago, certainly. I think their playoff odds push back up toward pretty close to 90% based on the outcomes of today. But that's still not 100, right? I mean, this is not a sure thing. You still have just a 2-game cushion on both the Mets and the Braves. And it's not just about making the playoffs this year. It's also about what position do you find yourself in? Can you actually play the wild card series at home? That's something that the Diamondbacks are only half a game away from doing right now. They're half a game behind the San Diego Padres as of the end of play today. So that, yeah, they have some goals down the stretch here that they still can accomplish beyond just making the playoffs. And as of right now, I mean, at least with what we've seen from Zac the last couple times, what we saw from Merrill in San Francisco, it'll be interesting to see what he looks like back here tomorrow. But those are generally been your two best guys, and you're going to want them on the mound as much as you can down the stretch.
I got a super chat from Steven Bananas. He said, it kind of feels like to me, Jesse had to ask that question due to my great question that is basically.
I kind of got that vibe as well while I was watching that video.
Jesse had to upstage me for sure, or at least he had to get in on it, right?
I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't let Torey be complimenting you without trying to inject myself.
I knew it made you sick when it happened. So. I could feel the anger, just kind of coming off of you as Derek, he told me I was his favorite student.
Yeah, and Jesse, his whole life has been the favorite student.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So
I mean, even in these press conferences, the amount of times that I have to hear Torey say, "That's a great question, Jesse. It makes me sick."
Well,
it makes me sick to my stomach.
And that's exactly why it made him sick. Yeah. That Torey had that reaction to you.
It makes all the sense in the world. Steven, thank you for your super chat. It's not a $50 super chat, so we could tell you didn't slip on the button like Yoshi did last night. But he says, that's Mr. Bananas to you. Yes, sir, Mr. Bananas. And he says, remember, a vote for Espo is a vote for espionage. That's a very good point. He says, P.S. thankful for this podcast. We're thankful for you. So thank you for being here. Jesse, overall, not a lot of complaints tonight. There's nothing we can really say the Diamondbacks should do other than to keep this on, to try to keep this roll going, right? Like they have another winnable game tomorrow against the Rangers, and then they have a very difficult stretch that they have to kind of do everything they can to stack wins. I saw a listless Rangers team out there tonight. I saw a team that really wasn't, playing for much, and it's understandable that they weren't playing very hard, right? But like, you got to take advantage against a team like this, even if it's just 2 games.
I mean, Corey Seager's not in the lineup, right? What is there to be afraid of with the Texas Rangers,
nothing.
Right?
Adolis Garcia? Yeah, right. He's washed.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some good players on this team. Like, I think Wyatt Langford's going to be a star, and we saw glimpses of that today. He made a great catch in left field. He had a couple of hits in this game. He stole a couple of bases as well. There's still some pretty good players on this baseball team, and some good pitchers as well. I mean, Nathan Eovaldi has still had, for all the players on this Rangers team that have struggled this year, Nathan Eovaldi is really not one of them. When he's been healthy, he's been very, very good, and has been very good recently. And the D-backs tomorrow get another guy in a similar spot in Cody Bradford, a lefty who does not throw the hardest.
Troubles. He is going to give us some trouble tomorrow, Jesse. I know
he's sort of the type of pitcher that the D-backs have struggled with, right? Like David Peterson of the Mets and Jeffrey Springs of the Rays, these kind of finesse left-handed pitchers. That's what they're going to be dealing with tomorrow. And it will have a different feel, right? Now that Ketel is back in the lineup, although obviously Ketel, we haven't really seen him look like himself since coming back from the injury. That's still something that probably have to expect. It's just been a few games. It's just his 3rd game played off the IL. But at some point, Ketel is probably going to start absolutely destroying left-handed pitching again. And for the D-backs, tomorrow is as good a day as any for him to get back to that.
He really is. What do you have from the clubhouse tonight?
Yeah. So we have a few things here. I guess we'll start with Torey Lovullo talking about Zac Gallen and Merrill Kelly, not just Zac Gallen, but just how important it is for Zac to throw a game like this, and how important it's going to be for both Zac and Merrill down the stretch to really carry this team.
Yeah, I put that on him. I put it on Merrill too. I've had discussions with him. I've said, hey, you're the carry tool here. We got to have you guys go out and execute and do what you do best, and empty the tank every time you go out there. And it's very important. It's very important that they pace us. They've done it before. They know what it's like to stand on that mound and execute at a high level at the most critical times. And when they do it, the way that they've spoiled us with how they've done it, it comes out like this. So we need them, and they can shoulder that responsibility. The conversations that I've had with them, they're willing to accept that, and they take it on, and they've both been really good over the past couple of outings.
Yeah, I mean, these are the guys, right? These are the guys that you trust. And like, I think the one thing I took away from his pregame presser was that these are the guys you trust regardless of what the results in the past have been. These are the guys that if you can't trust them, then you don't really have a shot at winning.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, Torey was asked pregame today. I don't know if this was in the clip that you played, but is it important, like something along the lines of, is it important for you to see Zac and Merrill, are these next 2 starts important for you to see them get back to form so that you really do want to push forward with them the rest of the season and try to get them as many starts as possible? And Torey very quickly said, no, that not for me. Basically implying like he believes in these guys no matter what, right?
Yeah.
The Diamondbacks are either going to get to the postseason because Zac Gallen and Merrill Kelly carried them there, and obviously there's a whole lot of other players contributing as well. But they're going to ride it out with those guys, I think, no matter what. And it's obviously a good sign still that you're seeing Zac turn things around. And again, we'll see what Merrill looks like tomorrow. Maybe he's able to build off that last outing against the Giants.
Well, I know we have more from Zac from the clubhouse. What did Zac have to say tonight?
Yeah, this is Zac basically talking about that very topic of, Torey has said that he wants to sort of ride it out with you and Merrill the rest of the way. Is that kind of your expectation for the rest of the season? And here's what Zac had to say.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's definitely something we've talked about. I mean, that's something we've talked about for the last, 3-4 years, really. When we were out of it, and Torey said it's going to come a time when we're going to be in this thing, and I'm going to have to ride you guys for whatever the pitch count, dictates or whatever. But I think at the same time, it's being smart about that and understanding that you don't have to go out and throw 110 pitches every night. I mean, I think you pick your spots where, like tonight, for instance, maybe tonight's not a 110 pitch night. It's maybe next outing or 2 outings down the road from now. So, I mean, it's what we want. We want to be playing games and pitching games that mean something and, be able to give the team a chance to win.
What's funny is one time I had a discussion with Zach about like a perfect game and a no-hitter and like how many pitches he'd be willing to throw and all this stuff. And I've also had conversations with Zach where he's, said like that he would let his arm fall off for the team, but he's not going to let it happen for like a no-hitter because that's like not that important to him. But I mean, this just goes to show like when he says he's ready to go and like, yeah, Torey's prepped us for this, not just this year. Torey's prepped us for this in the past, that we're the guys that he has to ride with. We are the dogs. We are the ones that are going to be in there getting the long outings and being asked to go over 100, pitch count, all that kind of stuff. Then, you feel like these are the right guys for the job. Like you feel that confidence that Torey has in them, despite the fact that maybe the results have not been there, especially for Merrill this season.
Yeah, this was it was an interesting day for Torey where he could have tried to push Gallen for another inning, right? I think it was 94 pitches that Gallen threw in 5. And I think there maybe are some scenarios down the stretch of the season where Torey would have Gallen go back out there and try to, go through whatever it is, 110 pitches or so in order to get through 6. It's not something we see the Diamondbacks do with Gallen a whole lot. But this didn't feel like that type of game. And I think I agree with that decision. I guess in hindsight, it's easy to, given that this wound up being a 6-run win for the Diamondbacks. But just the way that the game was unfolding, the fact that the Rangers were just seeing so many pitches. I mean, even when Gallen had a 1-2-3 inning, it still was, it still was like a 20 pitch inning each time, just because Rangers hitters were doing a really good job working counts. So yeah, if you send him back out there for the 6, who knows, maybe he's 110 pitches and he's only gotten 1 out in the inning. And then you're putting one of your relievers in a trickier spot at that point. So it'll be interesting to see what the usage looks like. How are the Diamondbacks trying to push these 2 guys to get every start that they possibly can the rest of the way? And in these games, how aggressive are they? I imagine if this game had been a little bit closer at that point, maybe Torey does try to get a 6th inning out of Zac Gallen. It'll be interesting to monitor that here moving forward.
Interesting comments in the chat, Jesse, from our coworker, Erica Day. Erica might, when I said like Circle K is America's thirst stop, Erica might need to stop by there because she's sounding a little thirsty right now. She in our chat says Erica wants Walter in regards to Walter Pennington from the Texas Rangers, left-handed reliever. She says, can Erica come on the show if Walter comes to the Diamondbacks? So like now she's referring to herself in third person, and I don't think she just wants him to
3 in a row, by the way. Here's a third message.
Yeah, what else did she got? Also, FYI, Erica is 3-0 in her D-backs attending. She's still talking about herself in the third person, which is a power move. It's a power move. I can't, I want to say it's weird, but it's an insane power move, right? Anyway, that's a whole other story. We'll have to deal with Erica at a later time when it comes to that. But Walter Pennington cannot help us this season, though. Maybe in the future. I will say though, at this point, it's all about the fact that we know the offense is running so well, right? We've seen this offense even in losses. The Diamondbacks have been able to put up runs. It's all about pitching, and today is that glimpse of this is how it could be. I know it's the Rangers. I know it's a team that doesn't have a great team OPS and things like that, Jesse. But between the bullpen and the way Zach pitched, you're just yeah, this is this team. And then you factor in the fact that the offense can just casually throw up 6 runs on a night that didn't even feel like they had their best offensive performance tonight. And this team feels very like they're in a good position right now.
Another thing that Zach was asked after the game is, was there a little extra in this one for you given the opponent? And Zach kind of brushed it off, I guess, the way you would maybe expect him to. He gave the classic line of, I treat every opponent the same.
No, you don't.
But he did also acknowledge that, yeah, it feels good to beat this team, right? And he
Yes.
also said like they got us when it counted. So it's not like this one makes up for game 5
Revenge.
just because the pitching
Yeah.
matchups were the same.
Yeah.
I don't think any Diamondbacks player could possibly view that this
You
way.
you get that if you face them in the World Series or the playoffs and you knock them out.
Absolutely.
That's how you get your revenge,
because
period.
of the AL-NL difference. That's the only way
The
we'll
World
ever
Series,
get that
it's the only
payback.
way you're ever going to get it.
Because
is by,
all the Rangers have done since is make me feel bad because Corey Seager continues to own us.
Oh, yeah.
So it feels good to not feel bad tonight. But it also doesn't feel like
bad.
It also doesn't feel like revenge whatsoever.
Oh no, no, I didn't get my just desserts. You know what I mean? I did not get that, but
they own me. The Rangers own me.
Yeah, they do, and I mean because of the size of the victory, right? But
and the size of Adolis Garcia because he's on steroids.
Because of the size of his head is what you're saying.
Because of the steroids,
right? Yes, I can't.
I thought you were saying he was off the steroids now, Damon. And that's the reason for his down season,
now, but then he wasn't.
Last season,
there's a lot of.
I have it on good authority that Rob Manfred was the one that hit Adolis Garcia with an injection right before he hit his walk-off home run.
Wow, that's not at all true. But what I will say is that one thing that does feel good is that the Diamondbacks are on pace to make the playoffs, and we know the Rangers are not, right? So at least there's that. And, we can help maybe shut the door on their season a little bit more by finishing this thing off tomorrow with a 2-game sweep. One thing we'll need, though, is Christian Walker. And, of course, that's really the only guy I wanted to hear from tonight. No offense to Zac or Torey, but what did Christian have to say, Jesse?
Yeah, we talked to him about a number of things, including, of course, the game that he had today, and said sort of the usual things about how it feels good to be contributing in a big way again. His 2 homers were both opposite field, which I think is also noteworthy in this one. Torey loves himself an opposite field home run and spoke very, very highly of that. But we do have video of Christian Walker. A question that I asked, basically just did it take some pressure off you while you were out with injury, knowing that the team was playing pretty well, all things considered, in your absence? And here is what Christian had to say.
Yeah, very much, very much. It's easy to, focus on recovering and resting and getting the body right. But it's also, you have FOMO big time. It looks like they're having so much fun scoring a bunch of runs. You want to be in the mix. But no, proud of the guys for doing what they did, over the month of August.
What a weird feeling that must be. Like, on one hand, you're mad you're injured and you don't want to miss time and you want to come back as fast as possible. But based on an injury being an injury, that you can't do anything to change that amount of time it's going to take for you to come back. So it's like, yes, on one hand, it was great to see the team playing great. And yes, but like, does anybody want to feel not needed? Right? Like, you don't really want to feel like, oh, wow, this team's like better without me. That kind of sucks, and you also have the FOMO. Like, you do want to be out there playing baseball. These guys love this game. And the last thing they want to be doing is sitting on the sidelines while they watch their teammates go and have all of that success without them and celebrate and have those moments. It's weird, but like, I understand everything that he was feeling.
Yeah. And I think to a point that I heard Damon make earlier, before I hopped on, for as good as Josh Bell was replacing Christian Walker, there is still a difference here. And that being on the offensive side of the ball, Christian Walker is a power hitter through and through. Yes. And that's something that honestly I've heard that a little bit too much about Josh Bell. People keep talking about Josh Bell as like, oh yeah, he's your power hitter now with Christian Walker out. I don't really ever think that I've viewed him in that light. Obviously, I think he hit like 4 home runs almost instantly after he joined the Diamondbacks. Yeah. So it very much felt that
he was
way
having a hot week that week. We talked about how hot that stretch was when the Diamondbacks picked him up. So it's like, yeah, he was on a heater, but yeah, he came back down to earth, and he did end up. He has been a great hitter for this team, a great hitter where he can work the count well, and he can also get on base and get hits. But yeah, no, I agree with you. We haven't really seen the power out of him, especially not the way we see Christian Walker. That's why tonight felt so cathartic to have Christian Walker come back and not only have a home run in a game, but have 2 and feel like, oh, this isn't just Christian Walker hitting a dinger and feeling good about it. This is Christian Walker being back.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and not to say that Josh Bell is a bad player by any means, but just like the last few seasons, this year he has a 399 slugging percentage. Last year it was 419. The year before that it was 422. None of those numbers are prototypical power hitting first baseman type numbers, right? And it just goes back again to the value that Christian Walker does have. For as great as Josh Bell was as a fill-in, and he obviously continues to have a role on this team, Walker is your guy over there, right? I mean, he's the guy who's you feel like you can count on to hit 30 home runs year in, year out. And you obviously can count on his defense. We saw an unbelievable over-the-shoulder catch that Walker made at the point. Torey also talked about that at length in his post-game presser. I think it was when Ginkel was on the mound in the 6th inning, a moment where the game still felt winnable for the Rangers for sure. They were down to 4 runs, but they got their leadoff man on against Ginkel in that inning. And then they won a challenge, and Langford winds up stealing second base. So there was at least some level of vulnerability there, and Christian Walker does Christian Walker things and just makes this very nice over-the-shoulder catch that feels sort of routine for him at this point. I mean, I would have been shocked if he didn't make the play.
He makes it look effortless. He makes it look effortless, and you don't even think about what the level of difficulty is to make that kind of play in that situation, right?
I looked back at Jesse in the stands, like super excited, like, "Oh, did you just see that, man?" And Jesse was like, "Yeah, Christian Walker."
because he's not surprised.
We've seen Christian Walker make over-the-shoulder catches that were, 5-10 times as impressive as that one, honestly. And it's not to say that one wasn't as impressive, or wasn't impressive in its own right. But I think of the plays like the pop-ups down the right field line that are in foul territory where Walker has to cover like a ton of ground in order to just get to the spot and then try to figure out where the ball is. The level of difficulty there is probably higher than the play here. But again, it's not an easy play. I mean, I don't think it's a given that like every other first baseman in the league makes that play. That's just who he is over there. And again, I think that's my biggest takeaway from this one is that Christian Walker was back technically a week ago today, but now it really feels like he's back, right? Like now it really feels like you're starting to see him come to his own as the player that we're used to seeing. And that's a huge boost for this Diamondbacks team.
Jesse said he's back this time, so that means he's really back, right? So that's real. A friend of mine, Johnny Walker, is in the chat. Johnny, I love you. He says,
"How long have you known him again?"
A very, very long time, Damon. I don't think legally I'm allowed to discuss how long Johnny Walker and I have been hanging out together, but I do want to say, Johnny Walker, thank you for your super chat. He says, "My wife said to stop super chats, but I just can't help myself. Go D-backs." And we're glad you can't help yourself. Drop your wife's name in there, and I will say something very nice about her. And then maybe you can just clip that the way we clip stuff. And then maybe she'll just think that we just say lovely things about her on the show all the time. So we do appreciate you for that. Of course, Jesse talked about some things earlier that Torey said, and Torey may or may not be lying about that. You know how this whole thing goes. Do I have to do the bit? He's lying, I'm lying, but I might not be lying. Jesse Jr. never lies. And of course, we also know that the numbers, they never lie. Jesse, what do you got for tonight's number that doesn't lie?
Tonight's number is 84.2. That's almost the number. 80, very close.
A little different. 80, a little different.
A little different. 84.2% is the number, and that represents Zac Gallen's first pitch strike percentage in this game. There it is. Zac Gallen was 16 for 84.2. It's a pretty impressive number, and this is something we've talked about for a while as one of the key differences between Gallen this year and Gallen last season and years before that is he's just not throwing as many first pitch strikes. Yeah. And you look at the numbers, and it is very clear that the difference between 0-1 and 1-0 for Zac Gallen is very significant. It's something like a 250 point OPS difference between when he gets ahead 0-1 and when he falls behind 1-0. So we also have a graphic, I believe, that shows where those pitches were. Here's that. And this underscores the point I'm making here. It's not just that these pitches were in the zone. It's that pretty much all of these are quality pitches. You see the yanked fastball in the lower right-hand corner there. That was his first pitch of the game, actually. So I guess you can kind of throw that one out. There's also obviously a bigger miss there in the top left. But outside of those two pitches, pretty much all of these were in the zone. A lot of these pretty much right on the black. He did get a couple of calls here. The zone was maybe a little bit wider tonight. But yeah, winning the first pitch of every at bat is really important. And Gallen not only got ahead, but he threw quality pitches. None of those pitches turned into base hits. There were some foul balls. I think one or two of them was put in play for an out. So yeah, that was a really positive development for Gallen tonight.
I mean, I hate to give you credit. It disgusts me as much as you getting credit from Torey, but you wrote a wonderful article for GoPHNX.com, and a big part of it was you talking about these issues and like getting down to the core of the issue. We can't do that. Like, we don't know why Zac was struggling over that stretch. We just know that the fact that he wasn't landing those first pitch strikes and not getting those was putting him down and was causing a lot of the other problems he was having, right? Just getting behind in the count, staying behind in the count, not having, not getting ahead, not being able to be aggressive, especially with like his knuckle curve that's been really good this season. So, it makes sense, but at the same time, it's amazing the impact that him going out and having a night like this where he lands 84.2% of his, first pitches for strikes. Like, just it shows in the box score how dominant he was against this Rangers team.
Yeah, and I asked him about the importance of those first pitch strikes after the game as well. And he made an interesting point where I guess it goes back to kind of what I was saying a moment ago about how it's really important for these to be quality pitches. He said that opposing teams know that he's going to be aggressive early in counts, and it's important for him to be crafty and to, not make it a fastball every time or not get too predictable in various ways and mix it up. And again, really, really hit the edges of the zone rather than just sort of lofting it over the middle. So he's done a much better job in that regard here over the last couple of starts and especially today.
Well, we will be back here tomorrow with another post-game show. It's a little bit earlier this time, and unfortunately we won't be out in section 133, but we will be right back here with more on tomorrow's game, and hopefully the Diamondbacks can sweep this 2-game series against the Rangers. They definitely need, according to Lease, to win every single baseball game the rest of the way. So we will be here to monitor that. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at @cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. The People's producer is at Damon Dog. That's DAWG on the dog part. We are Damon's dogs. Bark, bark.
Bark.
Yeah, we do a subdued thing when Archie isn't here. I'm not trying to show off when Archie isn't here, but
I think that I would be taken much less seriously in the press box because people tell me this. I'm a little ways away from where the press box is. We try to create a little bit of distance. I'm not irritating people.
But they hear
writing
you.
Their stories,
they hear you.
But I'm still within earshot, and
Yeah.
I just don't think it would be great for me. Career-wise, perception-wise, to be like audibly barking.
I mean,
so hopefully
Steve would never let us live it down, Jesse. Steve would bark at us every single time he saw us. He would maybe call us the dog pound or give us some sort of nickname like that actually sounds pretty cool now that I'm thinking of it. So maybe
don't give him any ideas, Derek.
I'll DM him. We'll
maybe
figure it out.
Steve needs to meet me, and then we can just make him one of the dogs, and then it's pretty acceptable.
Steve can be one of Damon's dogs, and then he won't harass us at all for the barking. But of course, we do thank you, wonderful people, for joining us tonight. Make sure to follow our show at PHNX_DBacks. But of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports. We thank those of you that came out to the takeover tonight so much, because I know it's been so many of you that have come out to all of our takeovers and so many of our events. We cannot do this without you guys. And I'm not just saying the events. I'm saying we cannot bring PHNX to you for 3 years like we have without the continued support of people like you guys. So we want to thank you. We love you. We appreciate you. And we hope you continue to show up to events. Most importantly, I hope you guys had a fun time, because that's what this whole thing is about. We are not here for a long time, folks. We are here for a good time. So let's remember that. Of course, we'll see you back here tomorrow for another show. Make sure to join us then. Hope you guys have a wonderful night. In the meantime, Jesse, you can now leave Chase Field. I'll allow that finally, because we've been there all day. But of course, we thank you again for your time. We hope you guys have a wonderful night. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you get Zac and Merrill as many starts as you can in these last 17 games.
All City like the mayor.